Here we are.
Born to be kings. We're the princes of the universe.
Princess.
So we stand at the cusp of a revolution, something that's been coming for a long time, man. Here in the green room with, of course, Chief of Operations of Sessions, SugarTree J over here, myself, Shade Tree Surgeon, of course, Shay Lisi. Why we're here, I'm never really truly sure, but that's mainly due to Jason and motorcycles.
Yeah, I feel like the universe just sort of pulls people together sometimes.
Scum always floats to the top, I say.
Ew.
Well, motorcycles and YouTube is what brought us together. Motorcycles, YouTube, and always wanting to live a little bit outside the law. And now we're all in a business that is on the cusp of being legal. Legal here in Oregon.
Yeah.
The cusp of being legal everywhere. We're ending the prohibition on cannabis.
Oh, it really is kind of like the prohibition, huh?
I think so in a huge way.
It is absolutely prohibition. Yep.
But how long did the prohibition even last for alcohol versus cannabis?
I think it was like a good solid decade, wasn't it?
That's a good question. I should know that. But
Cammy, you want to pull up yourself? Pull up how long the prohibition was? Jason, that makes you, you're a
pioneer.
Pioneer?
Yeah. Well, an outlaw.
One of many.
I would say.
Yeah. Definitely an outlaw.
Well, I'm
still
sure
federally an outlaw, but
that's the crazy thing too,
right.
is because this is, at risk of sounding like a snitch. This is federally super legal.
Sure, they can come in and shut anybody down at any time.
We all know how a lot of people in Oregon react to the government coming and shutting stuff down.
Yeah.
Oregon gets such a weird rap sometimes, man. Because of Portland and everything like that. And while I enjoy the freaks and geeks in Portland, they don't bother me. I have fun with them, but
they love you.
The vast majority of Portland
You're their leader.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Don't get me started.
They do. They
dude.
love Josh. Well, you know what? Hey, it's a good thing because we want to include everybody. So that's why we do this.
Well, that was always like when you first described Sessions to me. That was the idea.
Yeah.
It's that it's a product for the people.
Yeah.
It's something for everyone. You're not trying to gouge anybody out. And to me, that still fits with the whole like moonshiner thing.
Sure.
You're like, dude, this is made by the people for the people. And that sounds like I'm doing a tagline. I just got goosebumps. I really believe it. This is like you are one step away from a hillbilly in the hills of Tennessee with a big copper pot.
That's it.
Running down the hills from the Revenuer and the G-Man in a big black Dodge, as Steve Earle would say.
Yep.
How long did the prohibition last, Cam?
1920 to 1933.
13 years.
13 years.
Those black market guys made some money for a while there.
13 years, dude. People were making some money on Canadian whiskey.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Until the government finally got their piece.
And so that's where we're at now.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, it is still, every time you go to the store and you pick up a Sessions cart or a Sessions dab, let me tell you, you are still doing something pretty bad. It's still federally illegal. So why don't you enjoy that while it lasts before the government gets their fingers into it? Because that will happen.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, the state still gets their fingers into it, but the feds will definitely want their piece soon enough.
I'm thinking about the past 3 days because you mentioned to me the other day that we're in ending the prohibition on marijuana right now, just very slowly. It's a weird question to say. Like, when you were a kid, did you ever think you'd sell drugs for a living? I'm like, at certain points in my childhood, I definitely thought I would. Yeah. But maybe not on this scale.
Yeah, no. I definitely sold drugs as a young person. Yeah. Not super young, but, in high school, we all dabbled.
Yeah, so where did you go to high school?
California High School in San Ramon, California. The Bay Area. I actually grew up my early years in Colorado. And when I was 15, my dad decided that we were moving to California, and I had these dreams of moving to the beach and it being like all like you see on Baywatch, but it's definitely not like that. The Bay Area is totally different. And I moved to a little small town in California and finished high school there. And honestly, like that's where my roots ended up being, and that's where all my friends are. And
so was the first time that you ever smoked weed in California?
No, Colorado. I was probably 13. And my buddy Trent, his brother had Like I still to this day have never seen weed this good, right? It was the most impressive thing I'd ever seen. And we saw his brother smoking, and he would put it up above in his tile ceilings and hide it from his parents. And we snuck up there and grabbed a bud out. And I'm telling you, this was like the most beautiful weed I'd ever seen. I still think about this.
Well, I think it's about perspective, right?
It's perspective.
It's like it's the best weed you had ever seen at the time as a 13-year-old, right?
Yes, definitely.
I remember the first tit I saw too.
Yeah.
It was probably the best tit you ever saw.
Burned into my memory.
You know what they say?
Ingrained.
The first cut is the deepest, right?
Yes, exactly. And so then we went out into a field on our dirt bikes, on our BMX, and we had a pipe and smoked, and I couldn't tell if I felt it or not. And
right.
And then the next day we went back and did the same thing, and I couldn't get out of this ditch. I was pretty much paralyzed.
You're in the woods thinking about your dad.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, on a dirt bike. I love that your first experience smoking pot was like literally going out on a dirt bike trip, which is going to be a lot of people's.
Yeah,
like, we rode out to a field. And
I feel like it's always like, for men, it's always fishing trip or hunting trip.
Yeah.
Dirt biking is like, and then all of a sudden somebody has a joint.
Dude,
Yeah.
And he's freaking got it hidden in his ceiling tiles and stuff like
he
that.
he was the badass.
I'm gonna tell you, man, nothing. And one day, so what's crazy? One day, kids, 13-year-old kids, which we're not advocating for 13-year-olds to smoke. You should be 21. It is it is should be used responsibly. I'm not just saying that to say that. I truly believe that.
Yeah, your brain's not fully developed yet.
Yeah, no, you should use it responsibly.
There's plenty of
21 and
time.
up, but freaking love will find a way, dude. I remember the first time I got high, and it was from spinning around in an office chair. At about 4 or 5 years old. And so, human beings will always find a way. We are but monkeys. But there, at some point, 13-year-olds will grow up in a world where you're not hiding it.
Yeah.
It's in the stores.
It's
and
everywhere.
it's not just recreational, it's also medicinal. And it's used in such a way that you truly are using it responsibly, because for not just a lot of people's mental health, but for their physical health as well. The reason that we don't know what cannabis does and why we're still finding all these new amazing things that it does is because for the past 50 years, nobody was trying to figure out what it does.
There isn't really any tests being done federally because it's federally illegal.
I think they do test in some ways, but I really don't know how they test.
That's where that K2 stuff came from.
Yeah.
The guy who made
the
that
spice.
Stuff, I think. Did you tell me that?
No,
I can't remember who told me that.
Is. What is K2?
So that K2, the spice.
You remember spice?
Yeah.
Yes.
So the guy who invented that, invented it. He had like really good intentions.
Okay.
So he was trying to invent a synthetic cannabis substitute so they could do federal testing. And he made it publicly available because he goes like, hey, I've created this. It's a synthetic cannabinoid. So, or whatever it was. I'm probably using the words wrong, but it's a synthetic alternative to weed. So we can do tests with it. And so he released the formula publicly because he was like, hey, I'm trying to be altruistic. I want everyone to have access to that. And then all of a sudden it turned out it really messed with you.
Yeah.
It was super freaking bad for you.
Yeah.
And then instead of people using it to study medicine, everyone started selling it in gas stations. And I think the guy actually committed suicide.
The guy, really?
Yeah.
What?
I believe he committed suicide because he's like
Guilt?
guilt. Yeah. He's just like, I can't believe
Kimmy,
I've
can you
done
fact
this.
check that?
It was a really, because he was a scientist and he
Right.
was trying to do the right thing. He's like, dude, I'm going to release this to the world and do something good for marijuana research. And then it's just like, people are dying in gas station parking lots and eating off each other's faces and
Yeah,
stuff.
that's that Florida epidemic. Was that the spice?
Oh,
spice, yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, I would hear a lot about that.
Yeah. Wait, it was just in Florida? I thought that was happening all around the country.
I think that all the news articles that we were getting were a lot of the like really crazy stuff was coming out of Florida.
I mean, they liked it
Always.
everywhere, but
No
in
way.
Florida, they're when you're this far away from the edge already. It's always say Florida is the reservoir tip of America. It's about as far as
Yeah.
you can go if you're running away from something.
Do you think marijuana will ever
Nowhere
get to
left
the
to go,
point
dude. That
where
and California. Pick one.
Do you think marijuana will ever get to the point where kids are paying somebody to buy it for them in a gas station parking lot? Like they do with alcohol when you're a kid?
I'm sure some of that
Of
happens
course,
now.
dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's kids are going to be kids. They'll always
That's
get a
right.
hold of something. It's whether it's legally available or illegally available, whatever that is, that will never stop. As I don't condone it. Did I do it as a kid? Of course. Did I pay freaking someone to get me beer? Absolutely. You know,
it's a tale as old as time, and I really doubt that will ever stop happening.
No. Kids are going to be kids, man. And there's a lot of good kids that wait, and they do great. There's a lot of kids who are real bad, like my man Jason over here, who still end up being productive members of society anyway.
When you first started smoking weed, like after that first experience while you were out dirt biking, were you like, I want to smoke more weed now? Or were you just like, okay, that was cool?
No, it was...
You were like, okay, this is my whole personality.
Get me back
now.
in that office chair right now. Dude.
Yes, exactly. It was harder to get for young people at that time. I mean, you had to, have an older brother or something like that. So it was harder for us to get, but we definitely tried always to try to get some. Until I moved to California and it became way more accessible. and also I was getting older, and then you get into high school, and moving from Colorado to California in high school, it's a lot different. I mean, I went from a small little country town to the city life of like suburbs outside Bay Area, and it's vastly different than where I'd grown up. You know?
What was that transition like for you moving?
Crazy.
From...
I mean, I pretty much showed up in cowboy boots and Wranglers to the Bay Area, where it's super versatile. I mean, diverse school. We had everybody. We did not. It wasn't very diverse where I was from, so it was just a big culture shock for me. It was awesome too at the same time. I was actually welcomed by Steve, who is one of the owners of the farm. He was my first friend in California.
And you're still friends.
We're best friends, yes.
Best friends, and now
and now we work together, and everything
30 years
is great.
Later. 30 years later.
And that's the beauty. Like, you go through a bunch of different friends, and certain people come and go out of your life. Steve's always been like the staple, When I moved to Oregon 10 years, or almost 20 years, I guess now, I started a magazine in Oregon years before we got into cannabis called Drive Time Illustrated. And when I moved up here, Steve came and helped me move up here. So it's just like, well, he's that guy to me.
He's the real one.
He's the real one for sure. Solid as you get.
Well, it means a lot, man, because you sit there and you go, someone that you've been friends with for that long and are doing business with 30 years later. Yeah. It's like, I don't know, man. That's why when it came for all of us to get together and do something together, before anything was, set in stone, so to speak, we went down to the farm and we met the boys down there. Yep. And we had a good time. We went out for drinks. We saw how hard they worked to make the product and stuff like that. And it really let me get to know you a lot better. And I don't know, man. I thought it was freaking cool. It's homegrown still.
It is. It's homegrown. Brandon is honestly one of the hardest working people I know. He puts in, I mean, he's built this farm pretty much, with his own bare hands. He does all the piping,
I can tell he's very muscular.
Yeah.
I can tell he doesn't.
Animal.
I can tell he does not work out, but he's still so muscular.
He's got that country boy strength.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
I can tell.
Yeah. I would have used a different word for it, but he's got that strength. Yeah. Luckily, I'm in charge of editing. I'll just bleep that one out. Sorry, bud, if you're watching. But
no, he's one of the sharpest, hardest working guys I know. He's built everything. I mean, he still does all the clones, all the trimming. I mean, not trimming. He doesn't do the trimming, but he basically just does everything. I mean, he runs 5 acres of flower now. I think we're going to be doing 4 this year total acres, but we have 5 full acres of plant. And let me tell you, it's an incredible amount.
So that really comes back into the whole like prohibition thing and the moonshine runners and stuff like that, is that it is all homegrown. And it's like your neighbors doing it. Yeah. That was the whole thing with moonshine, and why they still, even after the prohibition, moonshine was still a thing. And not that I'm trying to get too far away from the marijuana thing, but in Appalachia, the poorest part of America by like degrees. If you want to drink, like, you don't go to the store. No. And that's where I think that a lot of people are confused on moonshine. They think it's all this illegal, like during the prohibition. And while that certainly was, it was mostly people just making it at home and going, I'm not paying taxes on this. Right. So I can sell it to my neighbor for $1. 'Cause that's the because nobody has any money.
Right. Yeah.
You're
taking the old corn and the old apples and all these old fruits and fermenting and
it really sticks with me again with the philosophy behind sessions is for the people. It's an affordable product.
Yep.
It's something that anyone can use, whether you're using it to have fun or whether you're using it to treat your PTSD, or whether you're using it to sleep, or whether you're just having a good time and you want to laugh a little bit harder at a stand-up show.
It's cool because we do hear
afford.
about a lot of people that use it specifically for medicinal purposes. I mean, I get calls all the time of people, hey, where can I find purple Gorilla Glue? It works amazing for my pain. Like, we search it out and look specifically for that strain because it's the only thing certain people have found that like helps with their chronic illness or their back pain or whatever it may be. But it's funny how certain strains definitely do different things.
I really hate to be that guy when someone says, yeah, I don't really like smoking weed, and I'm like, you just haven't found the right strain, bro.
I know, it's a meme,
and I'm like,
but it's true.
I hate to say that, but it's so true.
It is,
I mean,
true.
it's like, there's no possible way for every alcohol out there to exist, and then you taste every single one and you don't like one single one of them.
Yeah, they do
it's the same
different
thing with
things,
weed.
too.
Like, there's different effects
Flavors.
from different weed, and there's different tastes to different weed, and there's just, it's very, if you try every one.
I'll try anything twice. Once to find out, twice to make sure.
Exactly. I can be very judgy the first time.
Third time, sometimes 3 times if I forget for a little bit.
I do have that, sometimes that amnesia,
Yeah.
I forgot
Also,
how
I
much I
say-
hated that.
Everyone should always date 2 strippers. Once to find out, twice to make sure.
It's good philosophy. I like it.
All right,
I
do have to
don't
use
think
the
it
bathroom.
is.
All right, back from breaking the seal, unfortunately. Although I'm not drinking any moonshine this early in the morning. I don't know, man. I feel like there's a lot of parallels there, and I really like it because we all like fast motorcycles.
Yep.
And the moonshiners liked fast cars, man. That's that's where NASCAR came from, dude, ripping around the mountains in these cars, getting away from the tax man and the revenuers and the G-man and all this stuff. And I don't know, it's literally a Steve Earle song, Copperhead Road, very famous song, where he talks about how his grandfather and father were moonshiners running from the law in a big black Dodge that they souped up. And then he comes back from Vietnam and he starts planting marijuana and selling that and doing the same thing. It's a very famous song that I'll play for you later, but I guarantee if people are coming over from the channel, they already know Copperhead Road and Steve Earle.
Yeah, there's a lot of parallels with moonshine and cannabis. I totally agree. And it's interesting today that like totally different times, obviously,
Yeah.
But it's still that same allure,
Yeah, there's that pull, and harder to call alcohol medicinal. But I will tell you, if I get into a real bad mood, which has happened to me before, I can go ahead and call a couple beers medicinal, and it might be preventative medicine for everyone else around me. But there we go. And just like alcohol and just like cannabis, it's like the other parallels there are I would say probably hiding it from your parents. When you're 13, raiding the liquor cabinet.
Did you ever did your parents know that you were smoking weed? Because you said you were interested pretty much immediately after the first time you smoked. So I'm imagining that you just ramped up after that.
Yeah, for sure. Once you hit high school, weed was everywhere. Like that was the thing. And of course, like my dad would find seeds on the floor, and I would blame it on my buddy Jamie. Be like, yeah, my buddy Jamie smokes weed, and my dad would be I don't know if he totally believed me, but I definitely blamed a lot of that stuff on my buddy Jamie.
Yeah, shout out to Jamie,
shout
dude.
out
He's
to
a real one.
Jamie was my crazy friend who would do anything and take the lick for me. I mean, he lived with us for years, so and my parents knew he smoked weed, but
Right.
I don't think they wanted to believe I did, but knew, I mean, I'd come home smelling like weed all the time.
And Jamie was
Jamie,
blowing
though.
Goddamn
directly
Jamie!
on me, dude.
He smoked in the car.
Yeah.
No.
I was like, no, don't.
Yeah.
What if I
Stop? It's wrong.
What if I get a contact high and I
Yeah.
don't go to heaven?
Meanwhile, we're at the Dead shows. And,
Oh, it's like that.
Oakland College. Oh yeah, we were wild kids, and in San Ramon, California, there's not a lot to do. There wasn't like places for teenagers to go, so we would go to either to this place Benches or Vasco, the end of a road, and just party, or we'd end up at Grateful Dead shows.
Dude, I feel like
nitrous balloons.
I feel like every town has some place called the End.
Yeah.
We got one in Tampa on Davis Island. It's the End, and it's just
I can't
a parking
even remember
lot,
the name of it, but yes, everybody would go there, and it's escaping me. But man, we had our like 3 little spots, and then everybody would end up at Nation's Hamburgers at the end of the night, and it was.
We're
fun.
like that with a
good
place
time.
called Egg Platter.
Yeah. It was a thing for
So
sure.
where did you
24-hour
like
diner,
hide your weed from your parents? Like, what was your stash spot?
My car, most of the time. Like, once I got to high school. Younger than that, I never really had enough to hide. It was like...
You're like, if
we'd
you had
get a
it, you
joint.
smoked it?
Yeah, we smoked it. Yeah, exactly.
Or friends had it. Yeah.
But high school, I'd stash it in the car. I found some very convenience for, like, good, conspicuous spots. Inconspicuous spots. And, they never would go in my car, you know. So it was, well, my dad would occasionally. I think he would be like, "What's going on in there?"
Yeah, I don't know what you're up to.
What's he
You
doing?
better knock it off.
I feel like if you keep weed in your car, it stinks so much.
So much.
So much.
Yeah.
Did your dad ever smoke?
No, my dad was
like
adamantly against anything. Like, and I think it was for us because I'm sure he did his fair share of partying when he was young.
Yeah.
He was a wild young guy, but he did not like weed at all. My mom now today also kind of didn't really care for. She was way more liberal than my dad was with that stuff, but nowadays she's got scoliosis super bad and lives on edibles for pain because the painkillers are so addictive, and there's just so many things that negatives on painkillers, and I know like most people who've even dabbled in painkillers, a lot of people end up with problems with it, including myself. I had a bout with those things, and weed has helped her out so much, and there's really less addictive properties in marijuana than anything. I don't know if there are any addictive properties in marijuana. Some people say there are. Some people say there aren't.
There are more studies coming out about addiction in marijuana, just because there is more. It's becoming more legal, so more tests are being done. So
human beings get addicted to like eating drywall.
we also get addicted
true.
to scrolling on our cell phones. So like,
if it exists,
You
there's
can
an
get
addiction,
addicted.
dude.
Yeah.
People are addicted to masturbating. How are you going to stop someone from doing that? That's just them alone.
I didn't know
with
you
their
could be
brain.
addicted to that.
Oh, you could be addicted to that, yeah.
I just thought it was something humans do.
No, some
10
people be
times a
doing it like
day.
10 times. I think that's. I don't know if that's addiction because it's all like you could do something 10 times a day and not be addicted.
I just
can
figured
quit whatever,
just
right?
like no one could match your freak.
Well, I'm just telling you, if with just the power of your mind and 5 fingers that work, you can be addicted to something.
Probably true. Yeah.
So when it's like people are like, "Oh, this has addictive properties," I'm like, "Yo, human beings. Some people just have a predilection for anything. I don't care what it is."
Right.
And I'm like, maybe scientists out there in the comment section is going to be like, "Well, by the way, but guess what? I'm not listening."
Yeah, we sure probably have a couple shade tree scientists in the comment section.
So, but like you said, I don't care who you are, what science you do, or what you believe. There's no way that you can say that an opioid is on the same level as a gummy bear marijuana that helps your mom's scoliosis.
There's no way.
There's no
No
freaking way,
way.
dude.
Yeah.
That doesn't.
No,
that's
when
not
I
true.
stopped doing opiates, I wanted to die. Like, it was the worst thing I've ever experienced in my life. I mean, it felt like it was coming out of my bones. So I stopped smoking weed for a few months. It was nothing.
Yeah.
You know? And honestly, once I found like the right, strains that were like helping me with my pains and stuff, it was way, way more effective than even the opiates were.
So I take pain pills, or I did take pain pills for a long time. And literally the last time we were out here, and I've heard the story before, but you were literally driving me to the airport, and you told it. I was like, yeah, I'm freaking left my pain pills at home, or I was out or something. I had to go get my script filled or something, but. And I take them for my back and stuff like that. And we just had a conversation there. And you didn't even try to get me to quit. You were even just like, yeah, I guess, if it's every once in a while, blah, blah, blah. And I haven't taken one since.
Really?
Yeah. So, and
That's
I'm
amazing.
going to start to explore and see if I really can find some strain or something that works for me. Because at the end of the day, opioids just mask the pain.
Yeah, they do.
And so if I can just mask the pain with something that isn't an open. That's okay. I'm good with that, dude.
Yep, exactly.
I'm okay with that.
It just for me, opioid like that first one worked really well. The second one worked okay.
The first
and
cut's
I
the
chased
deepest.
that first one the rest of my time.
The first cut is the deepest.
It sure is. It really is.
What about
especially with those things.
You, Shay? Oh, you're talking about parents. You know, your parents are freaking wild for it now, dude.
Yeah.
You've been on a whole ass journey with marijuana and your folks.
My parents went from grounding me over some shake that they found in one of those tiny little bags.
Yeah.
To now they have a full-scale production of marijuana in Michigan.
I love it. That's amazing.
It's so crazy because my dad was in the military, so he was extremely strict until he was retired.
Okay.
Moved to Michigan where it's legal, and he's like, just kidding, I was cool the whole time.
I don't want to bust out Mark, but it's like, didn't you find out later that when you go on hunting trips?
Yeah,
I
knew that the whole time.
I'm gonna freaking smoke a J on the hunting trip and shit like that.
Yeah, no, I knew. My brothers told me that he was like that before, but
that's so hard for me to imagine because like he is just like so severe.
Well, the only reason that they started smoking weed was they were going on a backpacking trip through the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. Okay. So they were taking nothing with them but the stuff on their backs. So alcohol was going to be extremely heavy to carry.
But they weren't going to.
But you can carry a joint.
Yeah, they weren't going to not get fucked up though.
Yeah, but they're not going to not get picked up. So
the last
time I was in Michigan, I went to a dispensary and I couldn't bring the weed back with me to Florida on the plane, so I left it there. I was like, yeah, just give it to my brother or whatever. They didn't give it to my brother. Yeah. They brought it with them on the backpacking trip, and they smoked weed together for the first time, and now they have a full-scale operation.
Yeah, dude. Old Mark's freaking out there freaking making clones and doing his whole thing and making it all perfect and new strains and stuff like that.
Yeah, I always see him, like, putting weird, like, bags on top of the...
Has he hooked you up with some? Have you tried it?
Yeah, no, he's great at growing.
Great.
He's so particular about how he smokes that he won't use the same grinder for the same strain because he doesn't want his keef to be mixed up.
I like
that's
it.
just
like
Mark, though.
No, that's
he doesn't do something unless
good.
he's going to be the best at it.
Yeah.
But he looks like, I'm sure I was trying to think of like a movie character that describes him. Do you remember Avatar?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the blue alien one.
Yeah.
You know, like the general, like the bad guy with the silver haircut.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that's Mark.
Okay.
And he even looks like that.
Does
that
he
is
really?
what he looks like. And like when I think of him in my head, that's who I think of.
Oh.
He's great though. He's very.
Shay, when did you start smoking weed?
Probably when I was like 12 or 13, you know, around the same age as you, like in middle school, like about to enter high school. I smoked weed with my brothers for the first time because they are so much older than me. And they were smoking weed all the time.
Right.
And they're like,
sound cool.
Hey, you want to try this? And I was like, yeah. Before that, I was like, no drugs, no alcohol. I'm straight edge. But that was also like the trend and hot topic at the time.
Yeah.
If you guys remember
X's
that.
look really cool.
Yeah.
I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
It's easy to be straight edge when you're 12.
Sure
Exactly.
is.
So then I aged myself a little bit and started smoking weed. Pretty much after that, I was like, yeah, same. I'm into weed now.
Yeah.
That was mine too, man. My older sister. I think that's like a rite of passage. Your older sibling is like, because I remember, maybe it wasn't exactly the first time, because I remember once like having a bunch of just like, you remember that weed you used to get and it just like had been like flattened out and it looked to me like a piece of beef jerky.
Yeah.
It looks like they literally took a brick of weed and they took cut it
Yeah,
off
yeah,
the
yeah.
side
Oh, that's
like
how it came.
cheese.
Yeah. So it would, and we
weed.
used to get this beef jerky. You might remember it from this restaurant, Cacciatore's.
Yeah.
And you would get this beef jerky, and it was super hard, but it had the pepper seeds on it.
Yeah.
And so they would be sticking up like the red pepper seeds. And I remember getting the weed being like, there's so many seeds in it, and they're all sticking up because they don't get flattened out.
Yeah. That's like all of my weed in high school. For some reason, we smoked a lot of brown weed in high school.
Oh, yeah.
And
yeah,
we'd be
brown.
breaking it up on the paper and then tapping the seeds down. Oh, dude,
Do you know you can still buy mids?
Really?
I did not know
What
that.
do you mean by mids? Like smalls, like little tiny buds?
Oh my God, you don't know what mids are? Is that like a Florida
it might
term?
be, terms are differently. Like we call them smalls here, maybe.
No, mids
Just
is
bad
bad weed.
Oh, really?
So
Oh, yeah.
there's back in the day, it was mids or dro.
So we're in Oregon. Like, I don't think there are mids out here.
That's what I'm saying.
I think Oregon produces the best weed on the planet.
Well, I would say that SugarTree Farm and Sessions produces
we
the
do.
best weed on the planet.
We definitely
and
do.
that's one of those things that's actually like easy to say because we've seen the whole operation. Sun grown in the ground. This stuff is, nurtured by the sea breezes carrying over nutrients and
not
air
only
from across
that,
the ocean.
Not only that, but way back in the day, like what's the mountain range that separates the pretty part of Oregon and the desert part of Oregon? I don't remember the exact mountain range it is, but I remember watching a video on YouTube about, why is the western part of Portland where most of the people live, and it's because the soil here is extremely nutrient, because when the polar caps were melting during the ice age, I guess none of the sediment in the water, not a lot went past those mountains, which is why it's like deserty, and then why over here is a nutrient rich rainforest. So that's why I believe that the weed is growing so well, is not only that your sun is like
climate,
your climate's really good, but also the nutrients in the soil in Oregon are extremely
I don't know why that just made me think
fertile.
of like, and now I can't get this out of my head, so I have to say it. Like, so it's like all the nutrient rich soils, like from dead animals a lot.
Yeah.
Dead plant matter and stuff like that. Like, this is just, I'm not,
this was from
I'm
the
not a
ice age.
scientist, but I'm just like, oh, dude, because with you sun grown, you can like do different ones different way. I'm like, it makes you want to go get some mammoth bones from Alaska and grind them up into fertilizer and be like, this is straight mammoth cannabis, dude, fertilized with woolly mammoth tusks.
The best ever.
That sounds
Fertilized
like some shit
by woolly mammoths.
Yeah, it sounds like some shit you get in China to give you a boner or something,
Yeah.
Cascade range.
Cascades.
The Cascades,
I knew
yes.
that. That's
Yeah,
terrible.
so the
I
Cascades
didn't
range,
know
thanks,
that.
Cami.
No.
Cascade range is what separated, the desert from your rainforest here.
Yeah.
it is a rainforest.
And in my opinion, there's still such a misconception of outdoor weed and indoor weed. Like, indoor weed is great. Lots of people love indoor weed. It looks phenomenal. I mean, it smells great, but outdoor weed, we just get the best terpenes. And for what we do, especially with the oils and how we pull the single strain derived terpenes and capture those in cold traps, we just get such a better flavor profile than you do in indoor weed. So for what we do, I think we are growing the best outdoor marijuana on the planet.
You might as well say on the planet.
Yeah.
Yeah, and terpenes are what makes weed taste good.
Oh yeah, it's the smell, the taste, everything.
That's the big thing on the carts, and that was one of the first things because I'm still learning a lot of stuff. So far just an enjoyer, but now I'm learning all the science behind it, which makes it more enjoyable. But the carts are so good because it's only ever flavored with stuff from the plant. So you can get these carts that are flavored, and I don't know what the laws are here, but I know a lot of places they flavor them with anything, dude.
Yeah.
They just
It's
stick whatever in there, dude.
artificially flavor a lot of carts out here.
Well,
everywhere.
Do you know what they're using to artificially flavor it?
You know what? I know.
Red 40.
I know. We
Yeah, right.
Only
Red 40 maxing.
No, I know what we use, and that is strictly terpenes. That's it. We put nothing that's not from the plant back into our carts, and that I am comfortable selling our products and putting them out to the world and letting people smoke them, and with the knowledge that I'm not putting anything that's going to harm them.
Well, it's also because
That's what
your
gets me,
product
man.
is so clean.
It's so
you
clean.
have to add the terpenes to make it taste like something.
Sure.
Because it's so clean.
Yeah, at that point it'd just be like quadruple distilled vodka that tastes like water.
Right.
Which,
you catch a little bit of flavor. It's almost like that pure distillate taste, right?
Yeah.
Well, we're doing strictly BHO right now, and if once those batches sit in the ovens for a certain amount of time, and those batches sweat off all the terpenes, if you don't capture those and put them back in, you're definitely going to lose a lot of that flavor and smell. And
a gram
and those
means a gram. That's what I like about it. And that goes back to power to the people, baby.
Yeah.
Get your money's worth. A gram means a gram. They're not putting anything in there because I don't care how little, and it's probably not a lot, that you have to put into flavor a gram from somebody else. I'm not trying to cast too much shade and aspersions on everyone else and how they're doing things, but that is a gram of marijuana product.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because nothing else is getting added except more marijuana product.
Exactly.
That's it. I
get what
really
you pay
like that.
for. Exactly.
You don't
like that a
even
lot.
use pesticides. You just use ladybugs.
We try to be as clean as we can possibly be and still make sure we kill bugs, prevent mold, because we're outdoor,
Right.
so weather depends. I mean, we are in Mother Nature's hands, so we do everything we can to try to produce the best product we can. And the beauty of the extracts and the machine that we have up here, it really does a great job of purifying all of that and putting out the best product we can.
It's the best. That's all there is to it. And I like working with the best.
Shout out
Makes me
Lunatech.
happy.
They make an amazing machine. They've worked with us from when we started this, and we kind of took over Dab Factory. They were working on these like old school stuff that honestly look like moonshine stills. Like, it's essentially the similar process, right? And we knew that actually Steve was like adamant that we upgraded, and I was like, oh, we can use these for a while. Let's get the knowledge and really understand this. But to bring in a Lunatech, it just gives us so much capability. We can capture recipes. So if we do, let's say we run forbidden fruit and it runs beautifully and perfect, we capture that recipe so we run that consistently. Because a lot of the times, with extract machines, you could change a few little settings on those machines and create a completely different product. So us being able to, capture those settings and be consistent and put out consistent, it's a huge deal.
That's
right?
huge, man. That again reminds. I hate to always make the beer comparisons, but it's there.
Yeah.
And I think hops and marijuana plants are like they're pretty similar.
Yeah,
they look similar anyway.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, and even when somebody just like asks me what wax or dabs are, I always just describe it to them as this is the moonshine of marijuana.
Yeah.
So
That's a good way to describe it.
It's easy to go make the comparison between craft brewery and its explosion in America, which people love to talk crap about. I love it because I love options. I like people who make stuff themselves. Nothing against Budweiser or Coors or Miller High Life. I love all those. I can crush some
Coors
silver
Light.
bullets, dude.
Yep.
But I like going to a place and being like, damn, this town made this beer. It's like Europe. That's how Europe, the town makes the beer, and then there's the big ones that distribute across the country. But making a consistent product when you're brewing beer is the most difficult thing to do.
Yeah.
That's like, it's a science. And so that's the same thing here. So being like the first cart of forbidden fruit takes exactly the same as a 1,000th cart.
Yeah.
And if you took a back-to-back puff, you're like, that's the same product.
Right.
And that is what you do here too.
Coors Light, same way, right? You pick up a
drink a
Coors Light,
dude.
you know what Coors Light tastes like.
That's going to be a Coors Light, dude. And the fact that you're doing it on that level, but still in a homegrown way is, again, the difference.
Yeah,
I'm trying to
because
say
you
you're blowing
did
too much smoke up
say
your ass.
that,
here,
like,
No. Hey,
it's true though.
You did say there's not a lot of independent growers left, and that a lot of companies are just buying out the smaller companies and making and buying out their facilities to make a lesser product. Is that correct?
I mean, I don't know if it's a lesser product, but definitely there are a lot of big companies that are have been and are going to continue to buy out the smaller farms. Eventually, taking over, trying their best to corporatize it. The beauty of ours and our situation is we've always been private. We've never taken any outside money or anything. It's always been done by a small internal group, and we want to keep it that way because we want to keep the consistency of our product. Honestly, like Oregon especially is really funny about corporate cannabis, right?
Okay.
This is a mom and pop type of industry. People have been growing for their friends and growing for their dealers for many years, and it's almost like I just like the idea of being still a family business, essentially. You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, it is a family business.
We're all friends. We've grown up together.
I was gonna say you have been friends with them since you were 15. If that's not family, then
I know. Definitely family. And I just like that we employ a good amount of people, and we can control exactly what the product is. We don't have anybody telling us how to do things or how they want this to be. We know, and we're consistent.
There's
about
just
it.
a few people in line who get to say how the product is and what they want from it. And number one is the customer, and you guys come behind that.
Yeah, that's
You
true.
know, the takeover is just again so similar to beer. This is like InBev just taking over America. This is and like Heineken taking over everyone and being like Budweiser back in the day, buying up all the craft breweries and shit like that. And I can't blame some people for selling, you know.
Oh,
but
listen, it's
I can't
hard to
blame
turn
them. I
down
get
big
it.
checks. You know, I get
Yeah.
it.
But you know, some people just got that dog in them, and they got to fight the power forever. And you know, eventually, you got to stop fighting the power that's the government. You're not fighting the man anymore because they're like, "Hey, you're allowed to do it." We got to find somebody to fight.
Yeah.
So we'll go and fight the big corporations instead, dude.
Well, we honestly look at Sierra Nevada, and that kind of idea for cannabis is appealing, right?
Yeah.
Like you can still be a craft beer company, but sell it to the people on a larger scale. Like that's the idea for us. Is we want to keep the quality great, but be able to distribute to everybody at a fair price that anybody can pick up 6-pack Sierra Nevada. It's not going to break the
Exactly.
bank.
No, it's not out there like $40
No.
for a 6-pack.
And
or
there are
something
some
like that.
6-packs that are $40. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude, people get wild on that
Really?
beer sometimes. Oh,
yeah.
dude, it's so bad. I'm sure that
beers
cannabis will
It's
get
like
to
I
that
get
point
it.
too.
Yeah.
Once it's like nationally legal, there'll be like the mammoth bone.
Designer
Fertilizer, they're
distillate.
like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, this
Designer
is like
distillate.
$600 a gram or something like
Yeah.
that. You know, there's no way that won't happen eventually.
There already
I
is.
have bought
There already
a
is, yeah.
gold wrapped blunt before.
Okay, gold plated joints, which is cool. I like that exists, but that's not what we're doing. You know.
No, I think it was I'm almost certain that the gold plated joint was a company that was collaborating with a rapper.
That makes sense.
There's a lot of that kind of flashy stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm not opposed to it. There's people that love that stuff, right? It's just not what we do. We are just trying to make something that anybody can buy.
Yeah.
And it be such a high, like I match the quality of the best BHO makers on the planet. And I think we are one of the best BHO makers on the planet. But we match the quality of anybody, but our price point is vastly different.
What?
Because,
Part of that is where you come from, man.
well, that
you know?
and the fact that we are farm to table. We don't have to go out and procure flour. We have it all, and we know we have the best flour. It all starts with flour.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like if you were somebody who cared so much more about money than your product, then you probably would have just let one of those companies buy you out.
Sure.
But that's just doesn't seem like that's you.
Well,
Like you're about your
It's not him.
family and you're about
Yeah.
your product
Or
being
the boys on the farm.
the best thing.
First of all, I think the big factor is that a big factor, if not one of the biggest factors, is how cool it is that sure we get bought out and some big company comes in, buys us, and then what are we gonna do? Or we can work with our best friends forever and enjoy this and have fun every day. I mean, it's a huge deal for us that that it's small. Ultimately, we don't want to be small. We want to be big.
Yeah, yeah.
And we want to be able to distribute to the world. But we
Like you said,
also
Sierra Nevada.
want to be able to play. We want to be able to, work with each other and enjoy where we're at every day. Because I personally, if I just didn't have anything to do, I would go nuts. I couldn't just sit on a
same.
beach all day.
Same.
I wanna work with my homies, my buddies, and create the best product out there. And it's a challenge. Like I really love the idea of we've created something that somebody in Florida can get soon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's something so much bigger than yourselves that you've been able to
Right.
change people's lives with.
Yeah.
And you're still making it big, still making it better. Like you've in the 2.5 years I've known you, you've still there hasn't been one time I've come up here and you haven't gone, look at how we made this better.
Yeah. And
You
we're
know, so
constantly
constantly.
striving to improve our processes, become more streamlined, and keep this affordable for everybody. We've never changed our prices. Like we started at a particular wholesale price to the dispensaries, and we have never changed our prices. Actually, that's not true. Like years ago with flour, we fluctuated because of the market. But once we started creating extracts, we've never fluctuated. We've stayed at that super reasonable price point where the dispensaries can turn around and sell it to, and anybody can walk in and buy a cart or buy a dab and afford it and afford a quality product that they can be assured that isn't going to harm them. That's been tested, and everybody's is, but we definitely are one of the cleanest, and we honestly care about that. We want people to be able to afford it, get it, and know that they're either inhaling something that isn't toxic, and that they can use for pain, use for mental health, whatever it may be. Or just recreationally for fun, and know that that product is solid.
There's a lot of different ways to do business, and everyone thinks that they're going to do business one way before they start. And there's a lot of people who start out with good intentions and eventually turn out bad. A lot of people who stay with good intentions. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but when you look at corporations, there's kind of like this idea of like, okay, if you want to keep the price the same on your product, and you don't want to go up, you cut something somewhere else. So you cut quality.
Yes.
You cut the people's salaries. You do layoffs. So you see it all the time in corporations. Yeah, you don't have to do that, because there's another school of thought. This is something we've talked about at length, is saying like, okay, inflation is a thing. Everything costs more money. So what do you do when you want to keep your product the same price for everyone? Is you don't make your product worse. You don't cut something out. That's like where a lot of people immediately go, is you make a better product so more people buy it.
You buy the lower grade on the Cisco truck.
Yeah, exactly. Restaurants are the worst on it.
Shay.
Yeah, they're the worst
What we've done is gone out and found ways to get the same quality hardware, the same quality packaging, and found ways to get those less expensive so that we don't have to change the price. But we've never touched the product itself.
So the quality doesn't ever go down. The quality goes up. And if you're selling a good product at a fair price, and let's call it if you're selling the best product at a fair price, well, it stands to reason that people are going to buy more of it. And that's what makes up the difference. Is if you're moving more of them, and you're running your business correctly, and you're not wasting money, then you're going to do well. And that business mentality is super freaking rare. Yeah. But we'd all have a lot better stuff if it wasn't in every aspect, not just consumables, we'll call them.
Yeah. I know you so you've always been interested in cannabis, since you started. You were like, okay, yeah, I like this. I'm going to be kicking a hacky sack forever. But
I love hacky sack.
you look like
you
like hacky sack. I'm just
That's
saying.
Awesome.
So what actually made you want to get into producing cannabis and growing?
So I have nothing to do with the growing, just to be clear. That's all the boys down south. I actually was in a totally different industry, still highly regulated by the government, but I was a gun shop owner before all this. So I worked with a partner, and we created a really great gun shop in Brentwood, California. And then, that's really one of my passions. I love shooting sports. And so getting involved in I had the opportunity to get involved in that business, and it was super fun, and I got to meet a lot of really cool people in the industry, and provide a tool for people for protection and things like that, and
hunting, fun, protection.
There's a lot of great aspects of firearms. You know what I mean?
And Jason is if you've seen some of the videos, we've been out shooting with him. He is an insanely good shot.
Thanks.
My man, you are, dude.
I'm
my man's
deadly.
My man's 3-gun over here is freaking on fire. Trust me.
You taught me how to shoot my gun better in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like with anything, you do it a lot, you'll get good at it. It's, So anyway, but that partnership that I had there did not work out. I had a partner who let's say wasn't on the same page as I was. So I left that business and ended up working for a friend of mine doing something else. It wasn't really a passion of mine. It was just kind of getting by until Steve. Like I said, Steve and I have been friends since we were young guys in high school. And he was like, come up here to Oregon. Like Steve's been doing this a long time. Like Steve and Brandon both have been growing since they were in like early
That's
college.
crazy. I didn't know it's been legal in Oregon since then.
No, me neither.
Yeah, exactly. It's been legal a long time. No. Anyway, those guys are pros. They've been doing it forever. And Steve was like, "Hey, we need something. We need a way to do this and distribute in Portland area." And so I spoke with I had a brand new baby, and I spoke with my wife, and I was like, "This could be a really cool opportunity to come up to Portland and start something special." So I literally, my wife's amazing. She was like supportive about it. She knew I was in a good place where, with all that had transpired in my life coming up to this point. And she was like, go. And I'm a driven person. So if I put my mind to something, like, I'm pretty relentless. Like, I won't stop until I'm where I want to be. And so I actually I came up and interviewed with the boys. Like, they sat me down and were like, "So tell us how you're going to make this happen."
Did you have to submit a resume?
I did. I gave a resume.
Dude, I can't wait.
Well, I didn't have to. I don't think they expected me to.
But like,
I came with my resume and was like, "This is what I can do," and like laid it all out for him. Gave him like my business plan.
Oh, that's because you got no ego,
and we
dude.
talked about the business for about 6 minutes, and then we just drank beers and we're like, "I think we're good."
So it started out professional, but quickly
went back.
was
to
like,
friends.
all right, yeah, we got this.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
you're still cool.
And I'll be honest, they put a lot of trust into me because this is their baby, and they were like, they're 5 hours away from me, so they're down south, and I came up here with my backpack on and rented a room from a family that was friends with another family, and rented a basement for a year, and I would travel back and forth to Oregon, to California. Every 2 weeks, I would go home for the weekend and come back. And it was very difficult on my wife and my kids. I already had one kid, and so the baby was, it was brand new. We had a brand new baby and a 2-year-old. So it was really tough on everybody there. But I did my best to like get back as much as I could.
And how long did you do that for?
I did it for a full year. Before
back and forth on the weekends, that's wild.
Because this was all new. I mean, I literally came up with there was no building, there was nothing.
Yeah.
Like, this was just an
idea.
idea.
And a dream, dude.
Yeah, this is it.
Backpack and a dream.
That's the American dream, right? Dude? Well, This is like 5-0 goes west, man.
And support from two fucking amazing.
Yeah,
people.
no, absolutely.
Like, they had my back.
100%. We'll get Steve and Brandon will be on a future episode.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah.
Let's say 5 amazing people, because your wife and kids.
Yes, yes. Very good point. Yeah, she was super supportive. Came up here, found a small. Actually, we found just a really small building, in a building that was bound to be all cannabis. So where we're actually at is one of a kind style building. It's got 40 different cannabis related businesses inside this building. We didn't have a lot of money. We rented the smallest office in here, and now we've expanded and grown to be probably one of the largest businesses in here, and definitely I think one of the most successful up at this point. I mean, I've seen 100 businesses come and go out of this building.
Yeah. Well, you got to be relentless.
You have to be relentless, right?
And that's any business or
we
anything
see that
you
in
want.
Ybor a lot.
And it's like, I don't care if you're trying to race motorcycles or work out or do or start a business. Being relentless and consistent.
Well, I have this insane fear of letting people down, right? So, like, I will work tirelessly just to ensure I don't let my people down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You've said it to me many times, man. Steve and Brandon are out there busting their hump. And,
that's it.
They might have started this, but trust me, me and Shay Lisi have been out there. They were sweating.
Strong men.
They are strong.
Don't have to work out to be strong men.
Yeah, no. And so Jason has to in the parlance of the times, match their freak.
I was just gonna say that.
He's got to match their freak here in Portland.
I'm trying to match their freak.
Match their nasty.
He works as hard as they do, and that's any business, anything else, and just like coming from. Because I know a lot of people will look at it and go like, "Dang, must be nice."
No.
I'm sure it has all must be nice.
Oh, they think that if you're in cannabis, you're just loaded.
Yeah.
No, of course, but like you said, you face so many difficulties from leaving an industry that you loved
Yeah.
in California with your wife and brand new
you
children.
left a successful gun business.
Yeah, it was a great gun
and it
business.
just sat there and goes like, I'm going to take a chance. You moved up here with a backpack, a dream.
Yeah.
2 awesome people supporting you, going back and forth to visit the family. And this literally sounds like it sounds like you're from another country.
Yeah.
It does. That's how people do. They're like, I'm going to work hard in America and like send money home to my family, moving back here.
Right.
It was just state to state, but that's what it sounds like.
It was tough. I'm not gonna lie. Like there was times I was like, oh Lord, is this gonna work out?
Yeah.
And it was funny because year 1 in cannabis was really great for a lot of people. Like year 2, it was pretty good.
Of legalization?
Yeah, of legalization. Like once they legalized, the first year, it was everything was selling at insane prices. Things were great up here, and then Oregon just kind of opened the floodgates and allowed everybody to get licensing. They didn't do a great job of regulating the licensing. So, a couple of years later, the market's completely flooded and the prices plummet. And it was a struggle. And at that point, it was like only the strong survives, right?
Yeah.
Because if you don't cut costs and try to run as lean as you possibly could, you weren't going to make it. And flour only gets you so far, and we knew that, and so we had to pivot. And we had worked with this company, Dab Factory, and they were making all of our BHO products. And then turns out some things happened, and we ended up owning Dab Factory. And so this whole thing has spiraled into what it is today, and I'm super proud of it. We've worked crazy hard, and now we're here collaborating with you guys on the Brap Star collaboration. And I'm telling you, those products that we're putting in the packaging are amazing.
Yeah, they're phenomenal. And that's, we've been talking about it on the channel, and obviously we're doing this podcast sessions with myself, Shay, and Jason the Plug. We wanted to do this. If you've made it this far into the podcast, thank you. Yeah. By the way, I know not everyone will make it this far, but if you're still here, let me know down in the comments on the bottom of this so I know how many people made it to the end. We wanted to do this first one just because you guys know myself, Shay. We're really open on our YouTube channels, so we're pretty easy people to know. But we kind of wanted to start this one out to let you guys get to know Jason a little bit more, who he is, who's his daddy, what does he do, where is he from, how he started, and, let you know that he is one of us, both when it comes to motorcycles, when it comes to work ethic, when it comes to how he treats his business. Yeah, exactly. Everyone here is matching each other's freaks. And we do it with you guys out there too. And, we're going to talk a lot about cannabis on here. We're also going to talk a lot about guns. Motorcycles, knives.
Trucks.
Big trucks, small trucks, off-road and cannabis. So it really comes down to, I know what I like to do. I like to ride motorcycles.
Ride smoker cycles?
Yeah. I like smoker cycles, dude. I'm trying to mash together in one word all the things that I like.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, I like to ride motorcycles. I like to smoke a little smoke. I like to have a beer. I like to go hunting. I like to shoot guns. I like to have fun, and that's the vast majority of our audience as well. So a lot of it is going to be kind of based around that. People in the industry, both in the cannabis industry, the gun industry, the knife industry, we're really excited about getting into. Jason is a knife freak. You guys have no idea.
No one can match his nasty.
Pointy stuff.
Yeah, dude, his knife collection is top notch. We'll have to do like a knife collection tour at some point.
That would be so cool.
It's a good one. I like it.
I
love watching the knife videos,
Yeah, big on the knife videos. If you got a knife maker recommendation here on YouTube,
if you've made it this far in the podcast, drop your favorite knife company down below.
I love that.
Yeah. I'll be interested to see what it is. So I can.
Yeah.
I know Shay's.
Don't drop what knife company you think is the best.
Right.
Yeah.
Drop your favorite.
Yeah, your personal favorite.
Like, because just because something's the best, or just because something's your favorite, doesn't mean it's the best. Like, you can acknowledge that.
Well,
totally.
So that's something I wanted to ask you is like, what do you think the best strain that you've put out versus what is your favorite strain?
Well,
that
my
you've ever
favorite
made?
strain is easily Forbidden Fruit. It is a kind of a flagship product for us.
It's really good.
We've won the High Times Cup in 2019? I don't remember now. A few years ago, we won the High Times Cup
heavy.
with it.
That's heavier than I thought it was going to
It
be.
was 2019.
In 2019. Yep. So we won the High Times Cup with it. It's a phenomenal flower. It tastes amazing. I mean, it's tough to beat. If you love the fruity, tangy style strains, and it's got a very mellow high, so it's not like put you down. It's a perfect indica in my opinion. I think the best ones that we've ever made are Forbidden Fruit. We make a sativa called Lucid Blue. That's also for you sativa fans, phenomenal. So I think those are some of our best strains. And then, when it comes to oils, we're constantly evolving, creating Raspberry Buffet. I think is one of the best
People are loving it, man.
Oils that we've made. People are eating it up. It's
It's
great.
a raspberry
It's great.
buffet.
Yeah.
It's in the name.
It's a buffet of raspberries.
Oh man, it's gonna be
awesome.
It's cool. We got a lot of cool stuff coming on this, and of course we'll all be reading every single comment on this. So if you leave your ideas down below. There's again, like I said, talking about things that made loud noises, things you smoke, things you drink, motorcycle noises. We'll do all that stuff too. But also, I know there's a lot of people out there who are starting their own businesses, whether that business be in cannabis, beer, knife making. It could be starting their YouTube channels. I've always felt kind of weird speaking about my own journey because I feel like, who the hell am I to, because I still feel like I'm barely holding on by my fingernails. Yeah. But then I meet Jason, who, like, when I first meet him, I'm like, oh, damn, dude, look at all this stuff you got. And then I'm like, Jason is scrabbling too. Yeah. But because you have to. Yeah. And so I think it's a good thing for a lot of people out there, because I see people who look at me and I think it's ridiculous that anyone would look at me and go like, wow, that person is successful.
It's made me look at other people differently too. Like when I look at people behind the scenes, and I'm like, oh, it's everyone.
Yeah, everyone's scrabbling. But it's good to talk about so people can see behind the scenes and be like, this is what it takes to make it. We live in and I'm not trying to end this on a freaking somber note, but we live in a world where, like, dude, if you want more, you gotta grab it, dude.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And so that actually leads me to, like, one of the last questions I wanted to ask you is, if you could go back in time and give your past self some advice, like, what would you tell yourself?
Wow, that's a good question. I would tell myself, trust your instincts on who you do business with instead of your ideas of what it could be. Do business with your friends. Like, I was always afraid to do business with my friends. And sometimes I think my friends were afraid to do business because we're friends, but
you hear it constantly.
Yeah. And I hear you say,
don't do business with your friends. I'm like, then you got bad friends.
Yeah. Dude. And I was honestly reluctant to do that a lot. And it's also, you have to trust your instincts of who those people are. So yeah. And take risks. Like, I wish I would have taken more risks early and not worried about the consequences of those risks. Because I've had opportunities that I've had ideas that I wanted to put, to action, but was too fearful of failing. And then I got to a point where I just didn't really care, like, if I failed. And that's when I decided to take those risks. Right? Like, if this didn't work, I still have my family to go back to, Like, it's not that big
being
of a deal.
Unafraid of failure.
But I'm also
it's gonna happen.
But also, you have to be relentless. So
yeah, well, because that's the other side of failure. It's like, you're right, you can't be afraid of failure. You have to put yourself in a situation where it's make it or break it. Like, you're gonna fail otherwise, but it's how you deal with failure and come back from it and go like, okay, well, that failed. What are we doing tomorrow? Right. Because like, that's old news now. Yep. It's gone. Goodbye. See ya. Yeah. I'm not thinking about that anymore because it didn't work.
Man, I tell you.
The next one.
Yeah. I mean, everyone's going to fail, I feel like. No matter what you try to do. Everyone fails. Like, it's inevitable. People make mistakes and things happen in life that make us fail. But it's the person who persists despite the failures, despite not wanting to do it anymore, or the person who does it still once their craft becomes easy. Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, how am I going to continue to do this to make it no longer easy, to make it better, to make it give myself
don't fall into that groove, man.
Yeah.
Comfort is killer. Comfort is the killer, dude.
The killer. Yep. You get comfortable in anything and you'll start to fall off pretty quick.
Yeah, sometimes you just got to jump in the front of the bus just to see what happens. You know what I mean? Just be like, I wonder what happened if I do this.
Metaphorically.
Yeah, metaphor. Yeah. Well, it's just like I do want to, and so okay, that wasn't as somber as I thought it was going to be. What I'll say, for every 100 great ideas out there, 99 of them stay ideas. Nobody ever actually tries to put them into motion. Yeah. And that's just something that I've wanted to do in a long form media for a long time is talk about that kind of stuff, and with somebody who has worked hard and become successful. And I can no longer say that myself and Shay haven't worked hard and seen success, because at some point it's more humble to just go ahead and admit that and be like, I've worked very hard and I've seen success because of it, rather than just be like, oh shucks, man, no, me. I'm like, no, dude, I busted my fucking ass. You bust your ass, dude. 15 fucking years of making videos. Like, I've worked hard at that. So
it's no small feat by any. I mean, I see what it takes.
I want other people to see that too, because there's a lot of people that we talk to, a lot of people who are in business for themselves, or a lot of people who are working for somebody else who would rather be in business for themselves, or whatever part of your life you can apply that to. I think it's really important in this world that in America, the America that we live in today, to be able to know, like, hey, it's not 6 days a week, it's 7 days a week. This is what you have to go through, and this is what you have to do, and this is how you steel your mind to achieve more. I don't know if this is work. Like, I feel like it's an important part of the podcast. I'm not trying to ramble about this.
True,
we can
man.
cut it out.
I totally agree.
No, that's why I added those questions as the last question, so it wouldn't be so somber, because I knew that we were going to be talking about struggling. So that's why I ended it with like, okay, well, now what are your favorite things? What are the things you're proud of?
Back to the struggling thing again. All right.
No, I think it's true though. Like you know, anybody who really wants it, because I really want to be successful, right? Yeah. Like, and it's not even about money. It's not about. It's about legacy. Like, what can I leave behind? That's like put a mark. My mark down. Like, that's what I really want. Man. Yeah, it's a good footprint.
Yeah.
Man.
You got to leave a good big footprint, do something that makes your kids proud of you. Yeah. Or do something that matters, that helps people, do something large enough that it makes a bunch of people's lives better. Yeah. Not worse. Because you can leave a large footprint and it's bad too.
Sure.
And that's the plot of the musical Hamilton.
I think it's going to about do it for this one. If you've made it over to the Sessions YouTube channel, the Sessions podcast, I appreciate you so much. If you made it all the way to the end, come see me in person and I'll give you something nice. I don't know what it's going to be, but I promise you I'll do something nice for you. Don't forget to hit subscribe. Right now, myself, Shaylisi, and Cammy Bay have to fly back to Tampa in a couple hours, and it's right into fixing the RV to head back out here again and record the next episode. Yep. In which I will tell you how that went. Hopefully it went like the RV's here. Yeah. And I'm not back here again going like, well, it made it to Nebraska.
Right. It's on a tow truck.
But hey, like I said, sometimes you just got to step in front of the bus or step behind the wheel of the bus just to see what happens.
Yeah, sometimes you got to step in front of the bus, and sometimes you just got to drive the bus.
Sometimes you got to drive the bus and see what happens. I appreciate you guys.
Yep, thanks, guys. We're excited about the future of this, and I can't wait to see where it goes.
Yeah. And if you're in the PNW, if you're in Oregon, at least, keep your eyes peeled, man. We're around.
Yep.
And keep
Check
it weird.
out those Sessions products in all your local dispensaries.
Yeah, and if they ain't there, ask for them.
Yes.
All right, guys.